Okay, welcome back YouTube. So this is the second video, second part of the build series that I have for the different UAVs and my ground station setup as well. So this one is, the model is the MyTwinDream. It's a very old model. And of the fleet, this one is my Cloudbuster because its purpose in its totality, its purpose is literally to just fly through clouds and do long range missions. That is it. So of all the builds, it is the simplest one. I didn't really put too much time and effort into it. It's just very basic build, simple, just for it to just do the simple task of flying really high and really far. Now, obviously, it looks quite, scruffy and banged up. That's because this isn't a model that I bought from new and built up. This is actually a model that I got off of a friend who retired from the hobby. So a lot of it already came pre-built, like the motors, the servos, everything came as it was. The only things I did or modified on it was, for example, the FPV pod. I changed that, built a new battery for it, even though it did come with batteries as well. And also on the inside, which I will show, I retrofitted it with a new system, a new flight controller and some extra bits and pieces. But anyways, without further ado, let's get on with the build. So I'll start with the front as I usually do. So this is the FPV pod that I had designed for this particular model. So it's 3D printed, and with it, I actually was scrolling through Thingiverse one day looking to see if there was anything for this, for especially that would house any of the walk snail equipment. And fortunately, just dumb luck, I found this pod which was specifically for this plane, this 3D printed part, and it was designed to house the GT VTX. Of course, the front part was specifically designed for just the standalone camera, the HT camera. So I had it modified to be able to also hold not only a servo, so underneath there is actually, I don't know if you'll be able to see it very well, but if you look under here, you see there's a hole. So that's a servo, a 9-gram servo sized hole, which I can put for example, a 350 degree 12-gram servo to do pan and tilt 360. But I also modified it so that it could also hold the gimbal, and that's how I have it mainly set up. And with this gimbal, with this gimbal, I can manually pan, I can have it stabilized, and I can also do head tracking as well with the head tracking unit that I have on my goggles, which I'll talk about in the last build video series. But anyways, so yeah, this gimbal is a G3. It's got it secondhand, and it works great. It's really smooth, really silent, which really caught me off guard. When I'm moving it, I'm so used to pan and tilt systems making noise. So when I used the gimbal and how quiet it was, I didn't even notice that it was already moving, and how smooth it is as well because of the motor. It's using motors instead of servos. So that's a really cool touch. The camera I'm using, again, the HD Pro, because with that I can fly in low light conditions. So that's why I always use it. And over here, the back pod, I'm using the GT Walksnail GT VTX, and I got the extension pigtails which go into these nice SMA holders. And then the antennas that I have here are right hand polarized. I think they're True RC Blaze antennas. So they're basically the same as the OCP ones, but the difference is they have a cable they have LEDs basically. So these are blue LEDs, and I have it hooked up to the what's it called? The flight controller, a 5-volt rail on the flight controller. So that's how it works. And obviously the gimbal and VTX, they're all powered, you know, by the flight controller and some external BECs. So that's how they work essentially. This is a pitot tube. So before, the system was using a Eagle Tree Vector. So this is how it came when I got it off of my friend. And I have this pitot tube hooked up to a different airspeed sensor because they all work the same anyways. So I have it hooked up to an airspeed sensor, and then that's hooked up to the flight controller as well. Same thing here. I kept the motors stock, you could say. So these are using really old T-motor. Let's see, which one is it? T-motor MT 650 kV motors with swinging an 8x6 APC prop. My friend said that this was the most efficient setup he could get with this plane. I trust him because he was my mentor in this hobby. So like when it came to like getting efficiency, he'd done so many different trials and iterations. So I trust him completely. If he says it's the best, I'm not gonna play with it, and it saves me money anyways. So going in here, opening this area here, so you can see the wires coming through. Just put them on the side, you can see the tubing for the pitot tube. The main battery that this one uses, the LiPo. So again, my friend, he gave me like a bunch of multi-star batteries that still have some juice in them, so I can still use them. This is a 6S 10,000 milliamp hour multi-star battery, and it balances fine. But obviously, if I want to do some real crazy missions, I made this pack, which is a 40 amp. Yeah, it's 40 amps. I think it's 19.2 amp lithium ion 6S pack. You know, as much capacity as I need. 6S 4P pack, all the capacity I'll ever need on the plane. I only have 2, but 2 is as much as I need because for a full day's flight. Okay, so moving on to the inside. Again, this is probably be the shortest video because it's a very, very simple build. I got the Y cables, focus. Got the Y cables here for the XT60, XT90 connector as well. I'm using a Kessel's Castle Creation Beck. I'm using that to power. Focus. I'm using that to power, I think, the gimbal. Some Y cables, splitters here, because this flight controller that I'm using has been giving me some issues that I'm not particularly happy with. Just focus, if I can just get it to focus. That I'm not particularly happy with. So the flight controller I'm using here is a Holybro Kakute H743 wing. Would I recommend this? No. 2 reasons. One, soldering on this with this board was a real pain in the ass. It doesn't solder on the metal contacts anywhere near as good as the Maytech boards do. So that was a real pain. A lot of my joints are unfortunately cold soldered, but it does work. But yeah, it wasn't the best. Also, there's another weird issue with my one, whereby when I power it from the main power source, it doesn't power the entire board. So I had to do a workaround, a loophole. So basically there's the 5-volt rail side, which powers like GPS and airspeed sensor and stuff like that. Focus. So because of that side doesn't power up when I power it from the main battery lead. So I have to do a workaround here, whereby I have to now power the USB side via 5-volt rail, and then also power the main side via the battery, and then the whole thing works properly. This is the first time I've ever had this problem, and it's only with this board. Anyways, that's the board, I'm not gonna buy another one. I'm just gonna keep it because it works. So yeah, that's that. But I wouldn't recommend it. I'd recommend either getting a Speedy or better yet a Maytech one, because Maytech kind of just got their stuff right. So standard build. I'm using what's it called? Low ESR capacitors. If you look to the side here, you can see if I just tilt it, there's the airspeed sensor connected. Here I have a little ELOS receiver that's running iNav radar formation flight software or firmware. I'm going to remove it and replace it with a SpeedyB Bluetooth module. And I've got that in all of my planes, mind you, including the C1 Chaser. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, I've got them I put them in all my planes so that I can modify the settings. I can change the settings on the fly when I'm at the field and whatnot. And I preferred using the app a lot of the time than using the actual iNav configurator. So yeah, so here got the buzzer over here. Got a little angle connector for the USB plug. Here I'm using the Maytech M10 GPS. It works great, it works fine. And a new thing that I've been doing on all my builds, I did it for the C1, I've done it for all my planes now. I run dual receivers. So one of them, they're both iFlight 500 milliwatts transmitting ELRS receivers. One is 868 and the other one is 2.4. And that's because on my radio it has an internal Express LRS transmitter, and then I have an external so it has an internal 2.4 and then I have an external 868. And sometimes, depending on who I'm flying with, where I'm flying, how I feel on that day, I will switch between the two systems. I'll talk more about my reasoning when I talk about my ground station setup, but that's just how I have things set up. And yeah, I have antennas, dipole antennas pretty much for both of them, recessed all the way to the back over here. So there's the 2.4 one, that's 2.4 Pro drone, and then this is another 2.4 Pro drone, custom length ones that I've built, that I got him to build for me. Servos are all just Emax analog servos, and the ESCs as well, they're just some old Turnigy plush 40 amp ESCs. So that's pretty much the build. Like I said, it's a very basic build. It's just it's essentially just for flying in the sky, doing some cloud busting. That's why you know, I got the stabilization, stability gimbal for stabilization to, you know, make things real smooth when I'm up there. Cloud busting and stuff. That's why I call it my cloud buster. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There isn't really much, you know, thought or complexity to this build. So yeah, like, share, you know, have any questions, have any queries on more about how I've done the build and whatnot, can go ahead and leave a comment and I'll respond. So yeah, okay, bye.